This video will show you how to replace the coolant temp sensor on a Pontiac Grand Prix. This will be located along the driver's side of your engine compartment. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. A quick note about doing this, we will have to make our way under the front of the vehicle to drain the cooling system. But we're starting up along the top under the hood. Along the passenger side of the radiator, this is where our radiator cap is. We're going to have to carefully open this. Never open it if the cooling system's hot to the touch. If you've just been running the vehicle, you need to let it cool down. Could be under pressure. We'll carefully take hold of the cap. We're going to turn it counterclockwise and we'll lift it up and away from our face. Just a quick inspection of that cap. Now I'm just going to rest it on top. Let's make our way under the front of the vehicle. As we make our way under the front of the vehicle, we can see the front corner of our subframe on the driver's side. We're making our way just in front of that along the back side lower corner of the radiator. This is where we can see our drain plug. Now I'm going to be using a 19mm. I'm going to turn this counterclockwise and we're waiting to see coolant drain out of the lower port underneath the radiator. All right, let's let that finish draining. Now, once your coolant finishes draining, we can go ahead and close that drain plug. 19mm for that. Right there's bottomed out. Just take it a tiny bit further. Let's make sure that that's secured in place. While we're still under the front corner of the vehicle, let's make sure we clean around the drain port. Just use some parts cleaner, wipe it down. This is so we can inspect for leaks in the end. Okay, let's make our way up inside the engine compartment. Now we're up in the engine compartment. Looking along the driver's side front of the engine, we can see our engine cover. As we make our way down in this area, we have our coolant temp sensor, but we're starting with the electrical wiring harness. As far as the wiring harness is concerned, it has a mounting point that goes over a stud, so we're just going to lift it up and off of that stud. That's going to give us some slack with this wiring harness. Now we can make our way down inside this area towards our coolant temp sensor. So pointing down in this area, we can see where that coolant temp sensor is located. We're just following the wiring harness down. Now typically you're going to find that the electrical connector will have a locking tab on it, and that locking tab can be facing in any direction. It really just depends on the orientation of the coolant temp sensor. Find the locking tab. Gently pry it out and away from the sensor, and then disconnect the electrical connector. So I just pulled that out of place. Obviously it's a very tight area to try to get into and show, but of course I am going to inspect my electrical connector. I don't see any corrosion on this, so I'm going to set that wiring aside. Now we can start removing the coolant temp sensor. There may still be coolant in this area, so of course we have our collection receptacle under here. I'm going to be using a 19mm ratcheting wrench. There's minimal space in this area. At this point, I feel as though I have it loose enough I can remove it by hand. There it is, friend. Now, prior to installing any brand new part, of course we want to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting area. So we're looking at the circular port where the sensor would go into. We're going to wipe this down and inspect the port, confirming that the threads are in good usable condition. These look good. Let's get ready to install our brand new coolant temp sensor. Let's get ready to install the brand new coolant temp sensor. We already have thread sealant on the sensor itself. We're going to start this in by hand. Now, when we go to tighten this, we need to bring it in approximately halfway down the threads on the sensor itself. You don't need to fully bottom it out. Now, once you have that screwed in as far as you can by hand, we'll continue on with our 19mm ratcheting wrench. As I mentioned, we really only need to go approximately halfway up the threads when we're tightening this up. Okay, so this is starting to feel tight right here. This is what I want to feel. I'm going to go a tiny bit further. Let's have a close look. As I'm looking at this, I can see that my thread sealer is making its way inside of the port. I'm approximately halfway down the threads as I need to be. Now continuing on, it's time for the electrical connector. As far as that's concerned, align the locking tab area and press it into position. Double check to make sure it's secured in place. I've got my electrical connector. After an audible click, let's give that a little tug, confirming it is secured in place. We don't want it falling off while we're driving down the road. Okay, up along the top, we're going to secure our wiring harness on that mounting stud. So we're looking down in this area. Typically you could do this by hand. I'm just using the pick so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to lift it up into position over that stud. Press it down. Okay. And now, of course, just a little tug to make sure that's secured in place along the top of that stud. Now it's time to fill the cooling system. Remove the radiator cap. Now there's different ways to fill this. There's a specialty tool, or you can carefully use a funnel. I'm going to be using a funnel tool, so I'm using a small adapter inside of the port. This is going to act as the radiator cap. It should just screw right onto that radiator. Let's make sure there's no movement from that adapter. Now, since I don't want my funnel coming in at an angle, I'm just going to use this small angled portion. And now I can install the funnel. Now that I have the funnel in place, I'm going to be using the manufacturer's specified coolant. You can also use universal coolant. I'm going to be adding it into my funnel, and it'll start making its way down inside of the cooling system. At first, typically the fluid will make its way in, and you're going to see air bubbles. Eventually, typically it's going to stop. At that point, you would want to start the vehicle. Let it run and get up to normal operating temperature. It's going to circulate the coolant throughout the entire cooling system and remove any air. We'll have to top off the fluid as necessary. After running the vehicle, you've heard the cooling fans turn on and it's up to normal operating temperature. It's time to remove the coolant fill funnel. So for this, we have our small plunger. We're going to go deep inside of that funnel area. We're going to press it down. That's going to restrict the coolant making its way out of the funnel so we don't spill. Of course, we do have a collection receptacle under this entire time. We'll set that aside for recycling. After removing that, we can take off the rest of the coolant funnel assembly here. Install your coolant cap. Make sure it's nice and tight. Clean any mess in this area. Okay, friend, we finished our job. Now at this point, we've already run the vehicle, we know our cooling fan turned on, and we've circulated all coolant throughout the system. Clean any mess, close the hood, and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.